Alright, everyone, welcome back to our 2023-2024 season previews. We continue on today with the Washington Capitals. So, Washington's an interesting team for me because they're in kind of that weird spot right now where they're not a really bad team or not a bad team. They're not a team that's going to, do really bad. But they're not a team either that's, going to go out and win a Stanley Cup. At this point, in my opinion, I just can't see it. With the roster they have and then that competitive Eastern Conference, it's going to be difficult for them to really find their way to a playoff spot. However, there were some reasons why they missed last year that do need to be kept in mind. So last year they went 35, 37, and 10 for 80 points. They were 25th in the NHL, and they missed the playoffs. So I want to factor in a few things in there. Yes, they missed the playoffs. Yes, they were 25th in the league. But we could look at this year as a year that may have been good for them. I'm not going to lie, because this past year you got some good draft picks in Ryan Leonard. Definitely a good player there. He's going to look like he's going to be a great NHLer. And additionally, there was a lot of injuries you dealt with. There was a lot of guys that were hurt. To name a few, John Carlson, Nicholas Backstrom, Tom Wilson. And even at some points, Darcy Kemper as well. That is the biggest factor with me. A lot of players that went through the season were hurt for Washington, and that's why a lot of points in last season, not in the month, were very hard for them, and I think that played a factor. And the fact that they missed all those guys and were only 2 games below 500, I would say that's not that bad of a record. I'm not gonna lie to you. Can it be better? Yes. Are they still in that weird spot? Yes. Your departures and your arrivals, let's go as follows. Your departures first. You got Connor Sheary, Matt Irwin, Craig Smith, Connor Brown, Gabriel Carlson, and Carl Hagelin. So Connor Sheary, a loss there in the middle six, going to miss him for sure. Irwin was a depth defenseman. Craig Smith wasn't with the team for very long, so I'm not too worried there about him. Connor Brown, interesting guy. He got hurt, though, so I don't even think he played a single game with Washington. He has not. Gabriel Carlson was more or less a depth defenseman for a while, and he hasn't really made his jump to the NHL yet. And then Carl Hagelin there too. Also is obviously retired now with the eye injury, so it's gonna be unfortunate losing him. Regardless, your rivals list is as follows, and it's a much shorter list, 100%. You got Max Pacioretty, Matthew Phillips, and Joel Edmondson. I like all three of these moves, I'm not going to lie to you, because Max Pacioretty is a nice move. I'm not going to lie, because I think it's a low risk, high reward type signing, because if he dealt with a lot of injury problems last year, he was dealing with a lot of injuries and was hurt for a lot of the year with Carolina. With Washington, he can, if he gets back to where he was, he can be a consistent 70-point guy. 60-point guy maybe. And that's a good player to have on your team for sure for low market value that he had. I believe he is below market value with his contract. And if it doesn't work out, if he's injured or if he plays bad, then he's gone after this year. There's no big deal to it either. And additionally, if this team is bad come the trade deadline, you can move Pacioretty. So they have plenty of options there with Pacioretty. It's a good move overall. Phillips going to be a depth player, nothing too much there. And then Joel Edmondson too, probably going to be a second or third pairing defenseman, more than likely a third pairing defenseman on that Capitals blue line. But overall, I like the arrivals they made. They're going to try, I think I know what they're going to do. They're going to try and go for this competitive style rebuild. They're going to still try and be competitive, but still try and rebuild. And so far, I think they did a good job in last year's draft getting Ryan Leonard, as I mentioned. They have some notable young players. And additionally, too, the Hershey Bears, their affiliate, just won the Calder Cup. So, they're not I don't think they're in as bad of a situation as many people may think they are, but I do understand where people are coming from because a lot of the guys they had down below aren't the best prospects in the world, obviously, but still, they should still be a decently competitive team this coming season, regardless whether they make the playoffs or not. Your lineup goes as follows, and it's via the Hockey News. There are some things I disagree with here, so don't come at me for this lineup. Regardless, your top six goes as follows. You have Alex Ovechkin, Dylan Strome, Tom Wilson, Max Pacioretty, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and TJ Oshie as your top six. So overall, Ovechkin, he's about 72 goals away or somewhere around there from the goal record. If he gets 40 this year, he's gonna hit it, and he's gonna hit it the following year after for sure. And then obviously there too, Strome, interesting guy. Obviously last year with a lot of injuries they dealt with, Kuznetsov being out for a little bit, Backstrom being out for a little bit. Strome kind of came into the lineup and played pretty well, so I would expect for him to do solid. Maybe not playing first line because I think Backstrom and Kuznetsov are going to compete for that. But regardless, they're very deep down the middle, which is why I do think that Evgeny Kuznetsov could get traded. Whether or not there is the possibility that he requested a trade. I know I've seen some rumors and some rumors that were true and some rumors that were false, such and such. But if I'm looking at any of those three guys between Backstrom, Kuznetsov, and Strome, it's probably going to be Kuznetsov that leaves. I'm not going to lie. And as well as that, too, Backstrom, who I've listed on the third line, missed a lot of time. So that plays a factor there, too. But, yeah, Tom Wilson obviously re-signed this past offseason. Pacioretty on that second line wing spot, not too bad there behind Ovechkin. I think that's a good slot for him for sure. But, yeah, overall, not a bad top six. Your bottom six goes as follows. You have Sonny Milano, Nicholas Backstrom, and Anthony Mantha. Then you have Connor McMichael, Nick Dowd, and Nicholas Aube-Kubel. Then I got Alexi Protas, Henrik Lapierre, and Matthew Phillips as other guys there down below in the system that could come up to play. So obviously there, I like the third line, Milano, Backstrom, and Mantha. Again, I really cannot see a world where Backstrom is on the third line. I can't see it. That's why I disagree with the Hockey News' rankings. I feel like more than likely Backstrom could move up to be either the first line center or the second line center. Even though he missed a lot of time last year, I feel like he will. It's just controversial because I think honestly that is the biggest X factor. And I'm going to say it right here. It's down the middle. Like how is it going to go? Your center core is Dylan Strome, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Nicholas Backstrom, and Nick Dowd. And then you got Henrik Lapierre there as well. I think the most ideal thing, going back to Kuznetsov, I think the most ideal thing they can do is move Kuznetsov. So then that way you can have a core of Strome, Backstrom, Dowd, and Lapierre. Give Lapierre some time. He didn't play at all last year in the NHL. So definitely give him a chance there to prove himself on that fourth line role with McMichael and Nicholas Aube-Kubel. I think that would work out very well. But yeah, overall, the bottom six still has a lot of questions, but I don't mind it overall. Guys like Protas, other guys that I'm not even thinking of that are in the system, I think definitely should get some time. You want to bring the young guys up and at least give them some kind of a shot while they're in this weird competitive rebuild type stage. I think that's the best way you want to go if you're Washington. Your defense goes as follows. You have Fehervary and Carlson as your first pairing. Then you have Rasmus Sandin and Nick Jensen as your second pairing. Then you got Joel Edmondson and Trevor Van Riemsdyk as your third pairing. Then you got Alexiev and Iorio as your extra defenders. So I like that a lot there. Good first pairing, Fehervary and Carlson. There is a possibility that Rasmus Sandin could move up to the top D-man slot. He went on a heater last year with Washington towards the end of the season. So I like him a lot there on that blue line. But overall, I'm not worried about the blue line. I like it a lot. I think it's a solid one. If Carlson can stay healthy, then yeah, that's a pretty good blue line, to be honest. And your goaltending is Darcy Kemper and Charlie Lindgren, as the same as it was last year. Then you got Hunter Shepard as your third string goalie. But yeah, I like it a lot. Kemper and Lindgren, good. Good pairing there on the goaltending side of things. My biggest question, is this team still a playoff team? We get that question quite a little bit there if you're the Washington Capitals. Is this team still able to make the playoffs and contend in the playoffs? And bigger question is, are they able to contend for a Stanley Cup still? Right now, I feel like they're in the same situation as Pittsburgh, where, yes, they have a good team, they have a good playoff team, but it's not a good cup team. I'm not going to lie to you. There's too many holes in the bottom six, and they just don't feel like they're going to go for another run at the Stanley Cup. I just can't see it happening, unfortunately. I wish I was wrong. I really enjoy watching Washington play, but I just can't see them being a playoff team. It sucks to say it, but it just isn't in the cards right now. Your point projections here for the Capitals are via the Hockey News' fantasy guide, and they go as follows. You got Alex Ovechkin in first with 81, Kuznetsov in third with 73, a tie for third with Carlson and Strome at 68. Then you got Backstrom in fifth with 53. So Ovechkin there makes sense. Again, with the goal record, that'll be very interesting. See how we can do this year. But regardless, he shouldn't hit it this season, but he most definitely likely will hit it next season in 24-25. So something to keep in mind there. Your sleeper or your bust is Evgeny Kuznetsov. Patience is thin on Evgeny Kuznetsov, who has a run out of good will. Despite 10 seasons in DC, Washington is seeking new blood to keep its cup window open, and not having Alex Ovechkin on his wing puts a cap on Kuznetsov's production. Obviously, as I said, I think the most realistic possibility is that he gets traded. After the season Strome had, I can't see them dealing him. I don't know why. I feel like Kuznetsov seems more possible because Strome is younger. So, yeah, that's honestly what I think, but we'll see how Kuznetsov does, regardless whether he stays on the team or not. But, yeah, that is your 23-24 season preview for the Washington Capitals. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. The next one we are doing is the Columbus Blue Jackets tomorrow. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.